to Richard Fitzwilliams now, who's a British public relations consultant and royal commentator. He also joins us live now from London. Good to have you with us, Richard. This really is a significant day, not only for King Charles and the Queen Consort Camilla, but for the British public as well, because they haven't witnessed a coronation for at least, or almost, I should say, 7 decades. But we did hear from our correspondent there that this will be very different in nature to the late Queen Elizabeth's. It's seen as being more egalitarian, less emphasis on the aristocracy, more emphasis on the charities that Charles supports. Is this a good development in your view, a sign of the changing times?
I think it's an inevitable development because, after all, British society has changed out of all recognition in the last 70 years. The 1950s was deferential. Indeed, in the time of the Queen's coronation, rationing begun during the war was still in force. It was a totally different era, and naturally this reflects first in the diversity of British society. Then there's the theme of sustainability, because King Charles has been a keen environmentalist long before it was popular. This was, in fact, his first speech was 1970. And also you've got the theme of community service among the current Congregational Hundreds, for example, who won the British Empire Medal, and the representatives of Scouts, Girl Guides, and so forth. I mean, what is so significant is that there have been changes, but at its heart, the ritual, the religious aspect of the ceremony goes back hundreds of years. And in fact, the first coronation of Edgar in 973 AD, I mean, this shows the amazing way that the monarchy has lasted and adapted over the centuries, with the one interregnum with the Civil War in the 17th century. So it's a very important day. Also, the eyes of the world on Britain, and the gathering where 203 countries are represented. I mean, it's 100 heads of state. It gives you an idea of the soft power pull of the British monarchy.
Okay, Richard, we're just going to dip into the proceedings at Westminster Abbey just for a moment, because we can see a choir currently performing. So let's listen in for a bit. Okay, Richard, just looking and listening there to some of the festivities currently happening in Westminster Abbey ahead of the ceremony proper, which is due to start in a little over an hour and a bit time. But we know, as we've been hearing, the changing nature of British society. We also know that the UK is currently in the grip of a cost of living crisis. It's estimated that this coronation will cost upwards of $100 million. That is a lot of money, isn't it? Do you think it is worth spending on one day?
I think it's absolutely essential, because Britain becomes the showcase for the world. The hospitality industry benefits, tourism benefits, and also there are side benefits of a nation which is, so to speak, in the spotlight of the world. And this is linked to the soft power of royal trips abroad, and indeed state visits to Britain, and what the monarchy has to offer, the headship of the Commonwealth, and numerous charitable activities. It's a completely unique institution. And so far as the actual cost concerned, at the moment it's £1.29 per person per year, excluding security, with Buckingham Palace, which is the world's most significant palace, being refurbished. It has a unique processional avenue too, as we'll see later today. And I think the cost issue, clearly it's one that has to be kept under review, but equally you have palaces that are lived in. That makes such a difference. Visits to Windsor Castle, Buckingham Palace, these are meaningful. And if there was some form of republic, no major political party supports it. It's a very fringe grouping, and at the most, into say 26-ish%, British polls indicate clearly that the monarchy has a problem with the 18 to 24 age group, but that has been mainly since the problems with Harry and Meghan, the Sussexes. We expect Prince Harry probably fleetingly to be in London today for the ceremony. That has been a difficulty. It's been a few years where the monarchy's had to endure a lot of attacks, but there's so much interest in it. So when things go well, it's wonderful. When things go badly, it's international news instantly. This is part and parcel of the world we live in.
That's right, a lot more scrutiny certainly on this institution. Richard Fitzwilliams, appreciate your analysis as always, and we might get back to you as the coronation gets underway. Thanks again.
Yes,